Hi everyone. I am going to be working on a quick project today, so I thought, turn on the camera, record it, document the process so that if anybody else is in the same, boat as I am, maybe I can give you a little bit of an idea. What I'm going to be doing is I'm building a shelf for my plants, kind of a miniature garden shelf, if you will, to put along my fence pickets in my backyard. There's a lot of usable real estate along fences, plural, and I'm going to try to make use of that. And what I'm going to use today to build this is one of my favorite pieces of lumber, which is just a cedar fence picket. These things are really great for small projects. I like them a lot, so that's why I'm going to use them today, and they're relatively cheap. I sat yesterday just trying to think about what it was that I wanted to get out of this. And I just came to the conclusion that for now, just a very simple shelf would suffice, but I can always add stuff to it later. And so I kind of sat down with a little handy dandy book last night, kind of drawing out some plans and kind of what I wanted to get done first and second to kind of lay that out. And so I'm gonna make a very easy 4 by 5 foot wall, essentially, of pickets, and then add some cross shelves with that. And so that's what I'm going to build today, and I'm going to get these boards cut down to size, start screwing them together, and let's see how this thing turns out.
We're going to start by measuring and cutting boards. Of course, that's always the first place to start. I'm going to cut some 4 foot and 5 foot boards because mine is going to be 4 foot tall and 5 foot wide. So here I'm using my 5 foot long cedar boards in order to give me the length across, and I'm going to screw those in using some deck screws that are treated for outdoor use. I'll put those in the links below. After we're done putting in about 1 million screws here, it feels like, we're going to start adding the shelves. Now for this, I'm simply just using the width of the boards, and I'm taking those, and as you can see, just simply screwing those a little bit at an angle into those runners across the sides. I'm then going to take one of the boards, trim it, kind of make it nice and pretty, and use that as a side. That's going to give me a lot of extra strength to hold some of these boards up. So again, I'm just going to take about 1 million of these screws and put those in on the sides. Sanding is important. With cedar, make sure you're wearing a mask. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. But sanding those edges so that you don't get caught on those, so it's not a sharp edge. And then just getting any of the little burrs off. And here's the final product. You can see that all the cuts line up nice and neat and supported.
All right, so I've got it moved around back, and I've got it flipped around to the back side. And I'm actually going to stick in a few more screws on the back side just to kind of stabilize some of the corners. Because remember, it'll always stay together the more screws you put in there, at least where the screws are at. Right? Ish? Something like that? We'll find out. All right, there we go. Ain't she a beauty? I think she turned out pretty good, don't you think? Yeah, I know it's off level. I'm just messing with you. Okay. Now it's level. I know if you look at the fence behind me, it looks a little bit unlevel, but I guarantee you it's in the bubble. I've already checked this thing a couple of times. Yeah, we're good there. It's solid. So it looks maybe a little odd at this angle, but that's it. The only thing I'm gonna left to do here is I'm going to put some more screws in just to reinforce it on the fence itself. And so let me tell you a few things that I did on purpose for this little build. Number one, I left some space, so if I wanted to put some taller plants on the bottom, I could totally do that. The top I dropped so that I wouldn't get any crazy wind catching any plants up top, so I'll only have small plants at the top area. But the reason that I went ahead and built a backing here is so that there wasn't large gaps between this. And I know if you're like, well, wait a minute, isn't the wood gonna swell? Yes, it is. I've had pretty good success, even with these boards, that when I buy them, they're still somewhat wet. They're gonna shrink a little. and it's going to leave some space in there. And honestly, I kind of don't want too much space, because when the wind blows through these fence panels, particularly during the winter, I'm going to lose a lot of heat, because what I can do with this is also put a sheet over this to try to protect any of those plants that are not as cold hardy as some of the other ones. So I wanted it to try to at least block some of that wind, so that if I do need to cover some of those plants, I can do that. The other thing that I can do with this is I can add shelves, as I said, but I can also make some side shelves if I want to add some stuff to the side. I can make these a little bit not taller, but longer out if I need to, with just a wider plank. But for the purpose of this, I think it's perfectly fine, because I'm only going to put smaller plants on it anyway. A lot of the larger plants are just going to go along the bottom of the fence line on blocks anyway. So this will definitely keep the small plants from getting knocked over by the dogs or whatever random animal that shows up in my yard. And so this will work out pretty nice. I'm excited about it. So there you go. It's a quick little build. I guess just to kind of go over things, I put a little bit of a panel up here just to make sure that the boards stayed in line and didn't bend as they got wet and dried. I brought this shelf down 10 inches, and then this one was 28 inches, and then just the shelf at the bottom was just whatever that bottom panel was. And so by screwing on the sides and the back here, these are pretty sturdy to hold any little tiny plants. I probably didn't need as many screws as I put in it, but I had them, so might as well do it now, just to make sure nothing moves, right? Okay, gang, there you go. Get to work. There's tons of little bitty shelf ideas that you can do. If your fence panel is already level, that board, just throw some panels on top of it and screw them down on the back. They will hold a lot of lightweight plants, so it works perfectly well. Use that real estate to your advantage. One other question, actually, now that I'm thinking of it. If you're like, well, why didn't you make one the whole 8 feet or 6 feet? One, once they get that big, it gets really heavy, and I didn't want to have to manage all that. And two, it's much easier not only to move it around, but if I need to put it somewhere else, I can move it. So a lot of it's with ease. And number three, I guess, C, at this point, I don't have that many plants. So if you're a crazy plant person, I mean that in all jealousy of being a crazy plant person. I'm working my way towards that. I just don't have that many plants, so this will be way more than I probably need for now, right? Okay, everyone, thanks again. Hope you have a good one. See you next time.